Welcome to this video. If you liked apples, then you probably clicked on this video. Today I'm going to explain to you how you should not look at the root cause of the problem or the belief, but actually look at the root cause of your problem. Very small difference in language, as you can see, just one word, but quite a big difference in solving the problem. So the example I'm going to use is with apples, and imagine there's like a person that is fearful of apples containing chemicals. So let's say that there's like apples which they grow in greenhouses, and there's a person that thinks that every apple is absolutely completely stuffed with chemicals, and therefore if they eat an apple, that's absolutely bad and bad things are going to happen. Now, we're also going to include that this person's level of consciousness is not like super, you could say, high. So what I mean with this is not like, it doesn't mean that this person is necessarily bad or good, but it just means that the way they see the world, their worldview, is not like very high on the consciousness scale, if that makes sense. You probably have heard of something like the consciousness scale, and then they talk about like ultimate consciousness. It's not like the highest level in Rocket League, it's quite different. Anyway, let's say this person is like a little bit between the middle and between the bottom. That means that this person is not going to have access to certain beliefs or knowledge that will allow them to solve this problem using that knowledge. So what I mean is, the root cause of every problem is a false sense of separation. If you really think about it, the only reason that you fear this apple is because you think that the apple is separate from you and is able to harm you in a sense. Because if you did not identify yourself with your body, you did not identify yourself with the experiences you've had, because that's not really true. Like if you identified yourself with everything there is, that means there is no such thing as harm in apples with chemicals, because in that sense, theoretically, you would also be the apple with the chemicals. So therefore it's like, damn, how can I be afraid of myself? It's like, that's not possible, because even fear itself cannot be possible of yourself, if that makes sense, because then still there's separation of you thinking you're separate from yourself. These ideas are so crazy, man. Anyway, so the root cause of the problem in every case is a false sense of separation between these two things. In reality, they're all one, because everything is energy. So everything is energy. That means that everything is comprised of the same substance, which is energy or consciousness, kind of the same thing, just different labels for it. But yeah, this person might not be at that level yet, so they might not know this, or they might not be aware of this, because you can know this, I know this, but I'm definitely not like enlightened. So it's not the same thing knowing something and being aware of something. So then we have to use some other things. So I'm going to explain how to do this. Now, the reason that this person is scared of apples and has fear towards apples is because they believe that the apples might be stuffed with like chemical substances. So I'm going to draw like this warning sign. That means that the root cause of this person's fear is that they think that the apples are stuffed with chemicals. So that means that thoughts which are going to arise are probably going to be something like, oh, I should not eat this apple, like let me get away from this apple, like all of these beliefs, or thoughts, sorry. And then these thoughts stem from a single belief, which in this case, as I just explained multiple times, is that the apples might be stuffed with chemicals. So what the person has to do is not try and solve the problem from a higher perspective. So not trying to like separate themselves from the apple and convince themselves that they and the apple are one and the same. Because sometimes what people do, and what I myself have done in the past, is I try to use like way of a higher level of consciousness in order to solve a problem that existed at a very lower level of consciousness. And depending on what your level of consciousness is, it also matters. So let's say this person is like has this belief like apples are filled with chemicals. Now, this is clear. Next, what this person has to do is choose between these two things. Like, am I going to solve this problem by looking at this? First, you obviously have to become aware of it, because if you're not aware of like the root cause of your problem, then that is in itself like a problem. But you have to choose between those, and obviously this one is going to be the easiest one because of one thing, and really one thing only, because it's easier to change the belief. And why is it easier to change the belief? And let me just write as well a little bit so it's not too boring, this video. And why is it super easy, or at least easier, to change this belief instead of the other one? Is because of one thing, and that is because of evidence. Because beliefs are formed because of evidence. Depending on how strong the evidence is, the belief might be strong. So you can absolutely have a belief without strong evidence, but there always has to be some reason. So if, for example, your mom or your dad said when you were young that money is hard to make, then that is evidence. It's not personal evidence, because as a kid you haven't seen, and these are, by the way, quite small parents, but as a kid you haven't seen that money is hard to make. You haven't seen it yet because you're just a kid. So then what you do is you accept this as evidence. You accept your parents stating this as evidence of the belief that money is hard to make. So this, and like I said, this is not very strong evidence, because like you haven't seen it for yourself. So why would you accept it? Well, because obviously they're your parents. So what you have to do then is, and I'm going to switch back to the Apple example to make it streamlined, or I can do the money one as well, is then you have to go to look at the opposite of the belief. So money is easy to make and is everywhere. And then all you have to do is find evidence that money is easy to make and is everywhere. And you can also do this with other people, by the way. Like if you try to convince yourself money is easy to make, then like you cannot instantly like spark $1 million and boom, belief has changed. No, you can also actually look at other people. So nowadays, the reason why so many people make money easy online is probably because, or there's at least a correlation between that, because there's many people making money online. So there's evidence on YouTube, on Twitter, on everywhere that people are able to do this. Because of this overwhelming evidence, people's beliefs are changing. Because people's beliefs are changing, their realities are changing. So technically, you could say that the reason people are making more money is not necessarily because making money is easier. It's because people believe making money is easier. And why do they believe this? Because the evidence of this fact is more widely available. Damn, that was such a good sentence. Anyway. So let me get back to the Apple example to illustrate it further. So with apples, now all you have to do is pretty much find evidence that not every apple is filled with chemicals, or that it's not as harmful. What I recommend is doing the second, because like you're not going to check this with a microscope for every single apple. Like it's going to take a huge amount of time, and you're better off just not eating any. But then again, the fear remains, and it's better to get rid of the fear. So what you do then is just like accept that you probably have eaten apples in the past, like maybe when you were a kid you have eaten apples that potentially were from the same source, or like the supermarket, for example. And then you're still here right now watching this video, so like it couldn't have been that bad. So that's evidence in itself that these apples, although they might be like filled with chemicals, it doesn't matter, because like it's not as harmful. And even every food is contains some kind of substance that your body cannot use, which is why it's waste. So there have to be nutrients, but there also have to be toxins inside of foods. Like substances, I classify toxins as substances that your body cannot use, or has to extract, has to excrete, or has to, like, you know what I mean. And so for that reason, it's better to just look for evidence that states that it's not that bad if the apple does have chemicals in it. And the evidence for that is that you ate it as when you were a kid and you're still alive now. So that's pretty much all you need to do. And then with a little bit of time and a little bit of repeated evidence, because like just one-time evidence might not be enough. There might be the habit of the always thinking. So you have to kind of do that a couple of times, see a little bit more evidence. And then as you get more and stronger evidence that it does really matter too much, the belief is going to be replaced, and then the feeling is going to be gone, because fear in itself, the final small point, fear in itself is like not, you could say like godlike, or not in alignment with truth of the universe. Because if it was, then it wouldn't, like, it's the false sense of separation, which I just talked about. Anyway, I hope you understood the main point of this video, which actually was, now to reiterate, that you should find the root cause of your problem, not the root cause of the problem. So you should work according to your level of consciousness, find the root cause of your belief, change that by looking for evidence of the opposite. You can do that by looking at evidence from your own life. You can do that by looking at evidence from other people. That's pretty much all that's needed, and do that like a couple of times, so repeat that until the belief is actually changed. You can do this with any belief. So making money is easy. You can do that with this belief, and then making money will become easy for you. You can do it with self-worth. Like if you believe you're not worthy, it's because you've seen evidence that shows you're not worthy. So behaviors that show you're not worthy. All you have to do if you want to change the belief is start telling yourself that you're worthy, start looking for evidence of the fact that you're worthy. Depending on your level of consciousness, you might have to look for some different evidence. Final example, if you identify yourself with everything, convincing yourself that you're worthy is easy because you are everything. So worth itself doesn't exist because everything is, at that point, everything is the same. So like everything is the same if you're at that level of consciousness, obviously, which means that worth or not, it doesn't really exist because everything is the same anyway. And the only reason that you think something is worthy or not worthy is because you think there's separation between these two things. So you have to work according to your level of consciousness, which might mean in your case that you do not have this ability to convince yourself that everything is the same. So what you do then is you look for evidence that shows in your level of consciousness that you are worthy, which might be something like you went to the gym and you hit a workout, or you ate maybe some good food like a healthy meal. It doesn't really matter too much what you believe worthiness is. It matters like what your level of consciousness is. These drawings, man. And at that level you have to work in order to change the belief. So I hope you can excuse the drawings, and I hope you find the lesson and wisdom of this video valuable enough to the point where you can look beyond the kind of childish drawings. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took something away from it. Definitely try it out with some of your beliefs. And yeah, then I'm looking very much forward to seeing you in the next video.